Hey guys, I know this is going to be a little bit different than your standard video from me, but that's fine because we just had the holiday season, and maybe a little change of pace is what's needed. Don't worry, after this week, everything's going back to normal, Monday through Friday uploads, but a few days ago, we reached the 1-year anniversary of my first video. This means the Suris the Skeptic channel is officially 1 year old. I want to thank each and every one of you who have made this journey and endeavor worth pursuing. I do have a few questions that I'll ask at the end of the video, so please stick around till then. That said, I want to take you guys on the journey I experienced, and maybe let you see it through my eyes. My first video that I ever did was a response to a video on morality that basically said that we needed God as a grounding for morality. Looking back, I don't even hold the positions that I originally stated in that video anymore. The production quality was bad, and the sound quality was just kind of bleh. But it was my first video that I made on this channel, and it's the reason why my advice to any starting YouTuber is going to be just make your first episode, even if it ends up being bad. Mine was. After that, I did a couple videos focusing on Greg Locke since he wouldn't get out of my Facebook feed. Some of the first subscribers I ever had on my channel were because I was in a debate group on Kick. I've said this a few times on livestream, and if you're one of the original people who supported my channel in those early days, thank you. And let me know in the comment section. I actually just re-downloaded it so I could catch up with some of you guys. The video suggestion I got turned into the first video in my Prophecy Report series. It was the first multi-part video on my channel, and I'm incredibly thankful that it was. That's because as my channel neared 100 subscribers, I ended up wanting to produce a video that would require the help of other YouTubers to provide voices. I ultimately never ended up making that video, but originally, I had asked Godless Cranium if he wanted to be a voice. He said that he wouldn't mind, but that Prophet of Zod was working on a similar series, and maybe I should go talk to him. Little did I know, Prophet of Zod was building a very comprehensive cartoon series talking about different stories in the Bible with an all-star cast of YouTubers as his voices. It was basically what I wanted to do. I just ended up not having the dedication to follow through with that particular episode. It's not the only one that's fallen through the rafters. After getting in contact with Prophet of Zod, though, he became my first actual friend in the YouTube community, and he ended up suggesting that we do a collaboration at some point. To that end, I sent him my first part of the Prophecy Report series, and the video I was responding to, and we decided to go ahead and make the sequel a collaboration. Right before this, though, Shannon Q had actually discovered my channel and gave me a shout out on Twitter. Between her and Dawn, they managed to catapult me up to my 100 subscriber base, but that collaboration with Zod catapulted me to 300 subscribers in a couple of days. I can't help but think if it weren't for that video, my channel really wouldn't be here right now in the way it is. Shortly after that, I met who was to become one of my best friends in this realm. That would be, of course, the Godless Iowan. We ended up in a race together to see who would hit 400 subscribers first, and to my chagrin, he won. It was around this time, though, that I heard about Faithless Forum. It was an event for YouTubers in the atheist and skeptic community that was hosted by YouTubers for the YouTube community. It was here that I actually got my first taste of the extended YouTube community outside of just watching their videos. I got to meet people like Godless Engineer, Caitlin Chloe, Holy Kool-Aid, Genetically Modified Skeptic, Telltale Atheist, Atheist Edge, and even got to meet Prophet of Zod. Through the events of that weekend, I ended up sticking as close to Zod as possible since he was the one person I knew. I had watched everybody else's channels, but I wasn't at the point where I would have called any of them friends just yet. That, and there was that shell shock that usually comes from meeting somebody who you deem to be a celebrity. Speaking of personal heroes, though, about 10 years ago, I actually played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh!, and since I was poor, I was on a budget, and there was one YouTuber who made content catered specifically to people who were playing on a budget but still wanted to win tournaments. That was DubKDad, and I had asked him for help with certain decks over the last few years, and sometimes got responses, sometimes didn't, but we weren't really friends, so that made sense. That had actually changed a bit when I started my channel. It turns out that around the time I was starting my channel was shortly after he had deconverted, and he wanted to have a spot on one of my live shows. This was, of course, before I actually had regular live shows, so this was an incredibly stressful situation for me. I rushed home from work and quickly got everything set up with Pam's help. In fact, Pam actually did all the research on how to get everything set up because I couldn't. I was at work. Heart pounding, I sat down for my first live show hosted on my channel. After this, I caught wind that Kyle from the Non Sequitur show was going to be compiling a whole bunch of different roasts of Kent Hovind to put together into a single live show. I already had a distaste for the guy, so I figured, what the hell? I did some research on him, and then ended up submitting mine. Here it is if you want to take a listen. This ended up being the first time that my voice or avatar ever made an appearance on the Non Sequitur Show. After this, somebody ended up taking the subtext under the title of every one of my videos, and realized that it was actually a code. They cracked it, and I ended up having to hastily figure out what I was going to put together for anybody who cracked that code. It wasn't something I had considered yet. It was at that point that I decided that if somebody cracked the code, they would get a live spot on my channel. They would also be guaranteed one video recommendation from them that I would have to do as soon as possible. They would also get a video talking about them and how they broke the code. So basically 3 videos for breaking the code. I quickly put together the second code on my channel, and that was broken by Chaosism in a matter of weeks. I decided at that point that after giving out the rewards for that video, I would be making the codes a lot harder to crack from then on out. Maybe I've made this code a little too hard to crack, since it's actually been sitting around on my channel for over 6 months. Or maybe it's 8. It's been a while. The code has been there for a while. If any of you want to take a crack at it, it's in the iCard above. After the first video submission for Non Sequitur Show, I saw that Kyle was compiling another set of videos together. This one would be a Question for Christians episode, tailored much to the same way that several Christian YouTubers have questions that atheists can't answer episodes. I'm glad that I submitted mine, because the end result was a multi-person debate featuring me, Vice Rhino, Shannon Q, Luciano Gonzalez, Paula Gia, S.J. Thomason, Ocean Keltoy, and others. This was a large multi-scale debate, and as my first actual live debate, it was pretty daunting. But the good news is that from this, me and Ocean actually met up and ended up going to Waffle House afterwards. As you all know, the end result of that is he's become my co-host on my podcast. Originally, I wasn't going to be able to make it to this debate since it took place on a day that I worked. Unfortunately, that weekend, I had lost my job. A customer had tripped on a box, and I apparently showed a lack of empathy, and that was grounds for termination. I hold no ill towards the company who had employed me, because I understand that in situations like that, you do have to save face. I just happened to be the collateral damage. After this, though, I got to go on to Godless Iowan's channel for the Pentecostal Bible study. It was a hilarious experience, and shortly after that, I ended up finishing up the Prophecy Report series by having Cosmological collaborate with me. I've always been a fan of his work, if maybe not a fan of his upload schedule. I would like to say here, though, that one of the reasons that I was able to even get those projects done was because my fan base kept me going. Patreon gave us just enough to be able to afford to eat, so without you guys, we wouldn't have made it. Since I had a little bit of extra time on my hands, I decided it was time to start the Dangers of Woo series. After watching Godless Engineer debate allegedly Dave, and the idea of urine therapy coming up in the debate, I ended up deciding that that was going to be my first Dangers of Woo episode. It was shortly after this that I met Jimmy, or Mr. Atheist, and we did our first collaboration together. It was around this time that I made my Worst Arguments Against God video, because honestly, I had been watching debates between Christians and atheists for the past year, and there were just some that I was tired of hearing because they weren't very strong points, so I made a video about them. It was also one of the first videos I ever made to receive a decent chunk of negative backlash. The response to that on my end was to do another couple of videos on the exact same topic. I did a collaborative live stream with Ocean Keltoy, marking the first time that he had a debut on my channel, and then did another collaboration with Prophet of Zod as a follow-up. Shortly after this, the Skylar Fiction debacle with Matt Powell happened. This was where Matt Powell said some horribly egregious things on Skylar Fiction's channel, and Skylar received all the punishment for it. I ended up making my response to this the same day that Skylar got his channel back, so I really didn't make much of an impact there. But after that, another collaboration ended up coming around. A collaboration with Holy Kool-Aid. I had been wanting to do a collaboration with Thomas Westbrook for a long time, and this was an opportunity to finally get a chance to do that. It was a compilation of responses to Flat Earthers. I was just happy to have a spot on his channel. Around this time, I got a new job and created another Dangers of Woo episode. This one was a collaboration with Bionic Dance. Things were starting to look up. I had collaborations with a bunch of YouTubers I respected, the channel was doing pretty well, and I had a new job. The only problem was this job had some ethical concerns. Long story short, it was a call center position, and one of the downsides to it being a call center is there was a certain quota that we had to fill when it came to recruiting people through the call center. This is a quota that needed to be filled even if the people we were calling were, say, in the hospital. I had several emails between me and my manager of us fighting about this particular issue and them saying that it shouldn't raise ethical concerns. It did raise concerns for me, however, but we'll talk about that a little later. After this, I finally got to have Aaron Raw on my channel. He'd mentioned in email that we should do something fun, so I decided that doing an interview would be maybe just a little boring. He's done hundreds of those already. I put together a game called Did I Pull That Out My Ass, where I would make religious claims that were either fake or real religious claims from real religions. Aaron would have to guess which ones were real and which ones were fake, and if he ended up getting a certain threshold correct, then he would win. Needless to say, the end result of that was that I owe him a beer, and I still owe him one, but I'll end up taking care of that when I get to Texas. It was unfortunately around this time that I received the message from my mom that we had lost my grandpa. I have a video on my channel on my thoughts of what happened here, so I'm not going to relay them in this video. This event, however, caused me to end up using a lot of sick and personal days at work. This side of our family is split between 3 states, and unfortunately, the grandparents part of the family happened to be in the state I wasn't in. This meant several trips to Florida, and I couldn't exactly work during that time, so several personal days taken off of work. I still had my job though, so that was good. During this whole scenario though, the Geek Room ended up deciding that they wanted to host a roast between the different YouTubers, a lot like the Kent Hovind roast, but maybe a bit more personal. I was set to roast the Godless Iowan, and I had my ass promptly handed to me. After this, one of the people who I had actually met at the Faithless Forum had created a channel called Tater Thoughts. I really liked the guy when I met him at the forum, and I definitely enjoyed his style and humor, and we ended up doing a collaboration together. This was a response to a comedic skit that was making fun of atheists. Now I understand it was comedy, so I should take anything the comedian said with a grain of salt. But even after that, they were still stupid things, so we did a response for it and had fun with it. After this, I ended up building out the LHHHHG series. I finally decided what I wanted to do with it. That was going to be my series that focused more on philosophy. I already had several Let's Have a Conversation videos already, but this gave me an opportunity to finally give that series a focus. This was when I made my video called Give an Inch, Don't Lose a Mile, about granting the premise in conversations. After this, I ended up creating the Discount Hovind series. It was a request that I had from a Facebook user several months back, and I finally got around to it. He wanted one video on the guy. I ended up turning it into a whole series, and the next in that series is due any day now. The Godless Iowan asked me to hop onto his channel, and I ended up meeting RJ Downard there. This guy was like a walking Google search engine, and I just had to have him on my channel. So I ended up having him on my channel with Jim Hall from Atheist Edge a little later. After this, I wanted to support him by picking up one of his books. Most of the literature I pour through is usually in audiobook form. It's just faster that way. I can get other things done while listening and learning. Unfortunately, RJ didn't have any books on Audible, so I asked him why, and he said that he just never got around to it and never had a chance to. He didn't even know the first thing about how to create an audiobook. I didn't either, but I did some research and found out that it wouldn't be terribly hard for us to produce one, it would just take time. So since I couldn't buy his audiobook, I asked him if he wanted me to become the production manager on his audiobook. To that end, we're about 15 chapters into the Paralogs of Phineas Fogg, so expect that to be done early next year. We also needed equipment for this. RJ wanted to read it in his own voice because he knew how he wanted the characters to sound. I would simply take care of all of the editing and post-production and sound effects. RJ didn't have the equipment necessary to do this, so we ended up hosting a fundraising stream on my channel to get him that equipment. We ended up raising $300 to get him a new camera, get him a Blue Yeti microphone, get him a new mount for it, as well as a pop filter and all the other equipment needed for him to do the production on his channel that he wanted to. After this, I had a big live show on my channel that was a panel talking about sexual education. This featured Jim Hall, Nathaniel Walters, Inane Dragon, and others. It was originally supposed to be more of a debate, but nobody willing to stand up for the idea of abstinence-only education came forward. That was unfortunate, but I don't mind how it turned out. Shortly after this, I lost my job again. Me and Pam found ourselves in an awkward situation where we had a choice between taking her to her interview for her new job, or I could go to work. She didn't have her license yet at the time, there's a long story behind that, and we didn't have the funds available to simply get me to work and have her take an Uber. The interview was in a whole nother city, since it was going to the actual corporate office. Ultimately, since my job had already raised ethical concerns, we decided that trading my job for hers was the better choice. This was with the caveat that I needed to focus on my channel and make damn sure that I brought in enough money to help pay the bills. That's been a bit of a struggle, but I've been doing my best to. It's why I actually have daily uploads. It gives you guys more content, and it makes sure that we can keep the lights on. After this, I got to host a video on Vice Rhino's channel, so this marked another appearance on a channel of a YouTuber who I had massive respect for. Anytime that I get a chance to do something like this, there's like a little part in my stomach that just jumps. After this, I met the Atheist Rationale, Frustrated Atheist, and a few others, and ended up starting a series with them that airs on Mondays on my channel. Atheist Rationale pointed me in the direction of the NIFB, who I'd already covered. Well, I already covered Steven Anderson. I didn't know at the time that there was such a massive organization behind that. After laying down the groundwork to start taking on them, I also started my podcast series with Ocean. First episode was on dogma, and then the second one had Shannon Q to talk about depression, and we've had many other episodes afterwards, some with different co-hosts. Pam even got to co-host during the episodes where we got to focus on the LGBTQ issues. After this, the peanut butter wars started. Me and Iowan just ended up having political campaign videos against each other revolving around peanut butter. To this day, I still don't know why we did it, I just know that we did. I know some people in my comment section mentioned that they didn't like these, but we had a blast. During this whole ordeal, Godless Iowan had his wedding, and I actually got to meet him and his family in real life. I also got to see Godless Engineer and Caitlin Chloe again. That was cool. This is also when I got to meet Matt Clark, who had done an interview with me a few months back. Apparently, Bionic Dance got in on the peanut butter wars, and honestly, she blew both me and Iowan out of the water when it came to this. We had been doing political campaign videos against one another and just having trolley fun. She ended up doing an entire CGI animation as a movie trailer. I'm sorry, I can't compete with that. After this, I got to have Elijah Davalos on my channel, and he may be a smaller YouTuber, but he's one of the ones that I've been glued to watching for the past year. Maybe I'm just a gamer and like watching his gameplay in the background, but honestly, I really dig his content, and you should go watch him. It was after this that we finally started the review series on Matt Powell's movie. This has included me, Frustrated Atheist, Atheist Rationale, Bionic Dance, Aaron Raw, Jim Hall, and Nathaniel Walters so far. And honestly, I think that brings us to today. If I've missed a detail or I've left out some interaction with one of you guys, then let me know in the comment section below. This has honestly been an amazing year so far. There have been several ups, several downs, but thanks to you guys, I can say that after my first year of being a YouTuber, I can actually do this full time. It's not easy, finances are constantly thin, but you guys have no less made this possibility a reality. That brings me to a couple of questions. First, what do you guys want to see in the second year of my channel? As long as I can manage it, there will be daily uploads, so if you suggest something, it probably won't mean that I'll be sacrificing something else. So just let me know what you want to see. The second question has to go to my patrons. I've had my Patreon out as a way to support the channel for a while now. The only thing that I haven't figured out what to do with it, though, is how to properly set up rewards. So let me know in the comment section below what kind of things you would like to see as reward tiers on my Patreon. I already do daily videos, so what else can I do that you guys would like? Let me know in the comments below that as well. I can honestly say I'm not really good at any of this. I just do what I can. Half the reason that I can even get episodes out on time is because I receive suggestions for videos from you guys. But with all of that, I think that ends this video. I hope you guys have had a Merry Christmas, and I hope your holidays are going well so far. A huge thank you to each and every person who I mentioned through the course of this video. You guys have been a massive help to me so far. And an even bigger thank you to everybody who watches these episodes. I know it can be daunting when somebody's uploading videos every day. So yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Let me know what things you'd like to see on the channel, and I can't wait to interact with you guys down there. You can also chat with me on my Discord server if you want to have a more real-time communication. But yeah, I think that's everything. So as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.